Hi. So today I thought I'd do a video on shoes. Not a review as such. I'm not doing a comparison on which is better or anything like that, A or B. This is just the shoes that I've found so far over a period, probably around about 10 years so at the moment. And it's based on just the questions that you see on Facebook, etc. I notice in the running pages at the moment on people just popping up a post to say need shoe suggestions, go basically, and you're like, go what? How can you give somebody advice on a pair of shoes when it just says that you don't know the person, how big they are, how small they are, how slight a person they are, or big a person, the running techniques, how long they've been running or not. So it's very difficult, yet everybody throws in their thing, Asics Speed Blasts or whatever, been great for me, you'll love them. Maybe they won't, but people want to buy shoes online, which I understand in a way, in that you'll get a better deal, they'll be a lot cheaper than maybe going to your local shop. But in the end, unless you're really lucky with somebody else's suggestion, then it's going to be quite expensive, because you'd buy a pair, maybe get little niggles, or maybe actually not get to the injury or something, but just know that the shoe is not good for you, it makes your feet hurt or whatever, wrong size, so then they've got to buy another pair, and that might not be the right pair for them either, sort of thing that anybody else suggests. So you could be 2 or 3 pairs of shoes in and still not really understand what you want, and still not being able to run comfortably, etc. Whereas if you went to the shop in the first place, you'd have been straight away, you should have come out, there's a good chance that you'd have come out with 1 pair and you'd have been a happy runner. So just looking at that and to try and give a little bit of depth into the potentials of what you could and what you couldn't find, then I thought I'd just throw some of the shoes that I've worn into the pile, because even though I go to a local shop a lot of times, it's still not always been perfect, and still sometimes the manufacturers, they change the last, etc., and things just don't fit anymore. So initially, going back to like 2016, I used to do Ironman, or I'd started doing Ironman by then, and I was running on clouds. Now on clouds then were quite a new shoe, and a bit funky with the little tubes. They've changed slightly now, sort of thing, but the little tubes that used to be on the soles, they were quite a different sort of shoe, but they really worked well for me, and they were just right in the foot, the size and everything, sort of thing. So I really enjoyed them. I did 2016 Ironman Wales and a few other races that year in the ons, and yeah, they were great. Then once I'd done Ironman Wales, I thought, and On then released the On Cloud Racer. I ran an On Clouds. They come out with this On Cloud Racer, which was very similar shoe, but even more pared down, so much so you could actually see clearly through the top. So you choose what socks you were wearing, sort of thing, because you can see all the details on your feet. And they were a really nice shoe, but they were bigger again in the toe box. So maybe because there was less to them, but it was the same shoe, that they appeared more roomy. But there was too much room, if you can have that way, for me. So I tried them on one run, and on the short, sharp turns, which like Ironman Wales in Tenby is a lot of running through and quick turns left and right as you go through the little lanes, then there was too much room for my feet, and my toes were moving around, causing my feet to feel like hot spots, sort of thing. So they didn't go down well. So that then led me to search for another shoe. So that brought me up to the New Balance 2090 Vases, which was a really good shoe. So good. I tried to buy another pair pretty much straight away, and there was none available. They were discontinued, and that was it. So this became a very protected pair of shoes in my collection at the time. As you can see, there's still an awful lot of tread on them, because I just save them for best, just save them for the racing. That was what I was doing, and they were quite a hard wearing shoe as well. So I kept them, and then eventually needed to change them. So I had to look around again, spoke with the guys. I always go to a shop called Sports Link in Tamerham in Norwich. Then back then it was quite a local shop to me. Now it's about a 90-mile drive, but for me it's still worth the drive, sort of thing, because the level of experience that the guys have there. It's owned by an ex-distance runner and accomplished marathoner, etc. So there's all sorts of information there. The guys that work there, they all work different, or all run in different disciplines, sort of thing. They've all done either cross country, track, road. They've covered it all, sort of thing. So whenever you go and see them, they'll be able to help you, sort of thing. Again, when you go and see them, take a pair of shoes with you, your previous pair that you're still running in, and they can look at the sole and they'll know what sort of a runner you are straight away just looking at that. But also they can still do gait analysis if need be. They've got all of that software there, and then when you're choosing a shoe, you can either run on the treadmill in the shop, or if it's a dry day, there's a car park sort of area outside, and it'll allow you to run outside there, sort of thing, which is great, because then you can actually feel how your feet settle into the shoe. But that's just there. But I have no connection with the shop, so nothing for me out of saying what a good shop it is. But that it is a really good shop. There are other ones available, I guess, but that's just as far as I go. So with that, then I came up with the New Balance Propel. So that was them, and now you can see a trademark in a bad runner, sort of thing, or bad technique. So the sole's quite worn down the outsides as a pronator, and there you can see my toes, my big toes, on certainly on the right foot, doesn't lift as high as other toes, sort of thing. So the big toe, when you try lifting it, instead of lifting your toe up like so, it'll only come up a certain amount. There's like a calcium deposit above the toe. How that's got there, I don't know, but it is, and that impedes the toes operation. So when I run, instead of your toes bending up as your foot goes over, then this was caused by the shoe actually just being me pulling the feet away or pulling the foot up. So they used to work quite badly there. So unfortunately, I don't do that anymore. I don't know why, but I've moved on from it, although I still have the impeded movement in my toe, but I don't fancy the operation for that or anything like that. So that's them. They were a really good shoe, and as you can see, I ran in them until there was pretty much nothing left of them to run in, sort of thing. So then looking around to replace them, because they were discontinued as well, I came up with the Saucony Fast Twitch, which I don't have a pair of at the moment. So the Fast Twitch, really good shoe. I'd ran in them before, when I was running prior to 2006, and they were a good shoe. Bought them, started running, and immediately got into difficulties with them, but unsure, I didn't realise at the time it was the shoe. So what was happening was I was constantly tearing the soleus. When I say constantly, it's not like you just do it every day, because once you've torn the soleus, it's quite a big tear, quite a big muscle rather. So then you're away from running for a few weeks to get it to rest, and for the tear to start to repair. Then it's single leg strengthening on leg raises on the stairs or whatever, or heel lowering. So I think trying to get it all to work and trying to strengthen it before you start to run again. I would get to that position where I could run again, put the shoes on, go outside, and at one point, the one run I can remember doing about 200 meters, and that was it. It gone again, and another run a little bit longer than that, but still, every time I put the shoes on, not realizing it was just that shoes, then that was it. After a little while of seeking advice of various people, then a physiotherapist I know, she pointed out that the heel drop was too low. So I'd gone from 8mm on the Propel down a 4mm on the fast twitch, and then your heel, because the heel is thinner, you go a little bit further before your heel actually touches the floor in your running with your gait, and at that point you're putting too much strain on the heel that you're leaving behind, and the stretch to the next time you put your foot down. So the soleus, being a big muscle but a main muscle in your running, was just, it couldn't cope with this sort of thing. So that was tearing. So back to the shops, discussed this with the guys, and we came up with the Brooks Ghost. Yeah, 12mm offset on from the heel to the sole. So your offset is the difference between the heel and the sole. So if you've got like a 38mm heel, you take 12 away, then you're just with 26 rather on the sole, and you've got a 12mm difference. That's your offset, or your heel drop as people may call it as well. So ran with them, and great. All of a sudden, it's just, because they're thicker, it slightly shortened the gait, and I'm not tearing my soleus anymore. But I really didn't enjoy the shoe. It's quite a big, clumsy shoe for me, quite heavy, and does the job that it was supposed to do, but I really needed to get away from it. So after running in them for a little while, I then moved to a Saucony Guide, which again was a little bit lower at 8mm, but it was still okay for me. I worked well with it, and started running. And that pair of Saucony Guides must be 8 years old now, and I wear them at work when I'm not wearing a pair of boots on the rig. Then I walk around the accommodation in the Saucony Guides, and I still can't wear them out, sort of thing. Very hard wearing soles, great pair of shoes. So that was great. They got them, but I'm still looking for something lighter to actually race in. So back to the shop and discuss it again. Now this time, although I discussed it with the young lady involved in the shop at the time, can't remember her name, and she listened intently to the reasons that I wanted the shoe, and what I could and couldn't run in. And then she advised me to get the Kinvara 9s. So this is a pair of the Kinvara 9s, and you can see there's very little wear on them, because I literally put them on, went out for a run, and just thought there's something wrong with these. I knew my calf was gonna suffer. So back home, and put them down and back into the other Sauconys. And then I later on, because I didn't know at the time too much about shoes, but then I discovered that we'd gone back to 4mm. So that wasn't going to work. That was going to end up with injuries. So we dropped them into the shop again and discuss it. And I got with Brooks Ricochets. So again, a very good shoe, quite light. I enjoyed running in these. I think it was the first time I'd gone with like a captive tongue, and they worked really well. And to the point where I was, at the time, you can see I was still running and tearing the toes at the front when I was running over them, trying to pull the foot away because I couldn't run over it properly. So again, a good shoe, and worked well for me at that time. Discussing shoes again, I was advised to try on the Hoka Rincon 3. So okay, I had to go in the shop on the treadmill. I had to go just running down the road, and they seemed okay. So very kind of clumsy looking, almost like a Spice Girl type sole on them. It's a big fat sole, but the sole wraps around the bottom of your foot. So although it looks massive, it wasn't that big. It's just an impression that you get. So I ran in them, bought them, took them home. I took them offshore with me when I go to work. And the first run that I did was on a treadmill at work. And then I wasn't so keen on them. There wasn't anything really wrong with them. It was just a feeling that I got from the shoe. So I took them back when I went home. I didn't run in them any further that day. I think I carried on with the Brooks for the rest of the trip. Took the shoe back. They changed the shoe, it's not a problem, and I went back to, I can't remember what shoe I went to for the time being. Then once I'd finished with them, talking about shoes again, and the guys sort of just encouraged me to give the Rincon a proper chance in more than one run and let it settle in, sort of thing, which I did. And yeah, it was a good shoe. So I think I went through 2 or 3 pairs of Rincons. They worked well, wore well, and but they were just a little bit too, there was too much of a shoe there, too padded a tongue, and etc. So great for the long easy runs, etc. But I just wanted something pared down for training, racing, sort of thing. So then we went to the Hoka. This is a pair of Hoka Mach 5s, but I started off with the Mach 4s. So great shoe, and worked really well. But as you can see, there is no none of the usual sort of like heavy duty black or different coloured rubbers on the bottom, and they wore out really fast. So, but at the time, it was a good shoe. You're wearing through them quite quickly, but it didn't bother me because I could run in them, sort of thing. The thing with for my running, for 6 months of the year, I'm away because I work offshore 3 and 3, and then I'm on a running machine. When you run on a running machine, you've got an abrasive, like a grippy belt, which is moving at speed as your foot lands, and as your foot lands, the belt is already going across. So these, it just used to just file them down, so you can see, maybe not so easy to see on the camera, sort of thing, but it was, they would just literally destroy these in a couple of months between running on the road and running on a treadmill, sort of thing. But again, a very good shoe, a thin, very thin tongue, just a good lightweight construction, sort of thing. So they work really well, and I was impressed with them. But still, then you see that people, the carbon plates were coming in, getting quite common. Then a lot of people, Adidas, Nike, etc., which is not for me. I can't run in Adidas or Nike. Adidas are too snug, too narrow for my feet, and Nike, I always seem to have to go one size beyond where I normally go, and then I feel like I'm running in a pair of clown shoes just to get the toe space, sort of thing. So looking about and talking with the shop, we looked at the Hoka, the Carbon X2. So I've got a pair here. A really good shoe, sort of thing. So the tongue and everything, it's just a slip-on fit, and just snug the laces up, which suits me. I don't really use the laces to tighten a shoe down, not like I used to years ago, for whatever reason. Basically, the laces there, I just take up the tension in the lace so it's not loose, and then tie a bow. But there's never any pressure on my foot. I don't like, if I start running and I've tied it up too tight, I can feel it immediately across the bones of my feet, and I don't like that. So these were a good shoe. I ran in them a couple of times, raced in them, very good. But the thing with them was these laces, I don't know why it is, but they just never stayed knotted. Yeah, I could do a double knot, etc., but they would, if I didn't do the double knot, then they would undo, which I don't do a double knot in any of the other shoes. So I kind of just moved away from these, and that was it. But recently, just this time offshore, actually, I decided that I needed to wear them just to wear them out, because they were too good a shoe to leave. So these have just been used 3 weeks on the treadmill, and you can see that there's not an awful lot on that heel, sort of thing. It's really thin there now. So that's just them, but they're pretty much done, and I'm happy. I've got my time out of them, sort of thing. Then I moved on from them. I was coming up to doing the Manchester Marathon, and I decided, and I crossed the line and make the cardinal sin of buying a pair of shoes while I was away, and they arrived because it was Hoka shoes. So the Hoka Mach 5s and the Carbon X's fitted perfectly. I have no problems with them. So why wouldn't the Rocket X2s fit the same, sort of thing? So I bought a pair of those, arrived home. I was coming home on a Wednesday. I was racing at Manchester on the marathon on the Sunday, so I could get a couple of runs in. We'd be okay with them because the others take no breaking in at all. So I bought them, I came home and did a couple of kilometres just around the block here, and they were a little bit snug, but they're a new shoe, so hopefully they're going to break in a little bit. So I went to Manchester, took the shoes with me. There's a little niggling thought in the back of my head that these were a bit tight, a little bit different. So I took 3 pairs. I took a pair of Mach 5s, I took the X2s, Carbon X2, and I took the Rocket X2s with me. Ran again on Friday in Manchester, still not quite happy with the shoe, but I have the other 2 as backup. Wake up on a Sunday morning, nice sunny day, and just put the Rocket X2s on because they're going to be they're the race shoes, and that's what I wanted to wear. Nice new shoe, and they nearly broke me. So at about 15 miles, my feet have never been so sore, and I couldn't work it out. I was just running. It's just a shoe. They were a bit snug on the outside, but they weren't hurting the outside of my feet then. It was just the arch, the bottom of your feet between your heel and your toes was just so sore, and I didn't work it out. But it was months later when I came to another pair of shoes, the ones that I'm currently racing in, and I read an article on them, and they're a thicker carbon plate than the Carbon X2, and thicker than probably a lot of the other ones on the market at the moment. Not quite sure about right now, like when I was reading, and that was what caused me so much grief. Something is the constant, you've got to bend that plate as you're running, and then you take the ping off it. But it was the bend of this heavy plate, and the sole of my feet. If you feel it across the under the arch of your feet, you can feel the tendons and everything, and they were just fatigued. And that was it. So for a couple of days they were really sore, like they'd just been battered, and that was why it was. But at the time I didn't know why it was. Just put the shoes to one side, sold them actually, and just moved on. But also at the same time as the Rocket X2s coming out, then the Mach 6s came, and the Mach 6 is the same last. So the last being the old cobblers used to use. They used to make a shoe on a last. A few different shapes of lasts for different shoes, and so it seems to me that Hoka had changed the last. The Mach 6 and the Rocket X2s both fitted the same, slightly narrower, so I was stuffed again for another pair of shoes. I didn't want the Mach 6s, and the Mach 5s were running out. So when I couldn't get hold of another pair of Mach 5s, back to the shop, discussing it with the people, and we came up with the Saucony Speed 4s. Now the Speed 4s were back to being a godsend again. You got the black, so you got some hardware and rubber on there to protect this softer white, and they were a really good shoe. So consequently, they went from Speed 4s to the Speed 5s. I'm still in Speed 5s, and that brings me basically up to where we are now. So the shoes that I've got left are the shoes that that I run now in. And again, obviously this is getting a bit long, so I'll call it a day on this one. I'll come back with part 2 and discuss the shoes that I do run in, why I'm still running in them, what has changed, because there's a few more pairs down there. I think I'm running 5 pairs now, just for a change sort of thing, so I'm not running the same pair all of the time, and that's it. So I'll leave that there. Hopefully there's some information that you can take, reasons that you don't just buy them online. Yes, they're cheap, but it's cheap and you're probably risking an injury or sore feet minimum, or you're just going to end up buying another pair or another pair. It's not going to be cheap in the end. So I would find a good shop and deal with them. Once you're in a shoe, like say the Speed 4, and that's a good shoe, then okay, buy the next pair of Speed 4s online if you can get a cheaper deal. But if they change the Speed 5s or whatever else, even though it's the same model, doesn't mean it's going to be the same shoe. So just check them out, go to the shop and make sure that you're buying what you need. Okay. Anyway, I'll speak to you again later when I do the next one. Thank you.